Once again, it's that time of the year. Fall is here. The temps overnight are starting to cool off. So it's time to get the WoodMaster 4400 fired up and kicking out some heat. Now every year, this is a process I go through every year annually to start up the wood boiler. And I've done a few videos on it in previous years. So if you've seen those videos, some of those might be a little more detailed than what I'm going to get into tonight. I will try to explain everything and show you what I'm doing. This unit right here is pretty simple. The startup is a pretty simple process. I may not do things like you do them if you have a WoodMaster 4400. So again, this is just the way I do it each year. I don't know if I'll explain in this video like how the whole system works with the heating inside with the heat exchanger and the hot water exchanger. Tonight, or this evening, this afternoon, I am just going to be showing you guys how I get this thing going, what's involved, and then we're going to get the fire lit and we'll be making heat. So the first thing I did is I went up and I removed the cap that I had on the chimney, and all that is just a flower pot, actually. It's right over there. So I removed the cap. That's the first thing I do. And then inside here, now, disclaimer, do not be alarmed at all of this. All of this creosote buildup, that is pretty typical and pretty standard when it comes to outdoor wood boilers. So everything's cleaned out in here. Everything inside is ready to go. And I'll explain this a little bit later, why this is pretty typical. If you've ever had an outdoor wood boiler, like, you get a lot of this, and it's just because of the process and how this works. So I always open up the door, I look, make sure everything's okay. This opens up a draft in the back for when you're filling, and it allows the smoke to go directly up into the stack. When this is shut, the fumes and the gas go through like a little gasification system where they get pushed to the front, and then there's a little reburn cycle before they go back and up the stack. So this just opens up that draft, that bypass, to go right up and out. And you always want to have that open just so that the smoke doesn't build up when you're starting your first fire. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this back panel and I'm going to drain out a little bit of the water just to see how it looks. So there's just 4 little screws that hold this back panel on. And all I'm doing is checking kind of to see if there's a lot of sediment, or if there's any sediment in the bottom of the water jacket. I have never fully drained this water jacket. So from the first day that I had it, it was filled up, and I've only drained out small amounts doing a couple tests like this. Some people will drain theirs all the way out. I was told by the guy that installed this that when you drain out your entire water jacket, you expose the whole inside of it to air, which could then lead to rust. And so he said, drain out a little bit, see how the water looks, and then there is a treatment that you add to the water. I do mine every other year. I will add a gallon. So I added that last year. And there was a little bit of rust right at the beginning. Now, like I said, this water is treated, but you can see there was a little bit of rust sediment that's kind of settled now in the center there. But otherwise, the color looks good. That's exactly what the treatment looks like. So I'm not going to really drain out too much more. Maybe just a little bit. So there I drained out just a little bit more. And again, there was no sediment coming out of the water. Nothing at all. So that is looking good. And now, because I took some water out, I got to add some water back in. All right, so this little cap right here, that's the cap to the water jacket. I'll now take my hose and try to, without getting sprayed with too much water. You always want to top this off before you start up the boiler. And there we go. So now the water jacket is full. And to know if your water level is full or not, this green light in here will light up. If this green light is ever out, I know I need to add water. Just like it says there. When light is off, add water. So to get that light to come on, all I need to do is flip the switch. And you may have been able to hear that pump kicks in and it starts circulating the water. So this tube right here goes down 4.5, 5 feet into the ground, and then it runs over and goes in the house right there. And again, I'll show that probably in another follow-up video to this. So right now we're reading the water temperature is 62 degrees inside the water jacket. I don't have the fan turned on. Once I hit this set button, the blower will kick on inside the door here, and that's what begins, I guess, the on-off cycle of the blower on and off with the set point. So this is set to, once the water temperature reaches 170, then the blower shuts off. That's a nice cobweb right there. And then when heat is pulled off the water and the water temperature drops to 160, then the blower kicks back on. So it's just a never-ending, continuous cycle, keeping the water temperature inside the boiler here between 160 and 170. All right, so what's left? We got to build ourselves a little fire. So building the fire, nothing too special. I just take 2 bigger pieces on each side, get a little newspaper, some cardboard, make a little crib of some kindling on the top, and light it up. All right, the fire is going. Smoke is billowing out, so I'm going to close the door. And now what I will do is I'm going to hit set, and that is going to turn on the fan, get the blower going. And if we look out here, we shall see smoke coming out of the stack. Now that is a beautiful sight. If we take a look at our fire, burning good. Getting a good burn going. All right, so we just crossed over 100 degrees. We're actually at 103. Up from 62. So what I do when I start this first fire of the season, I use wood that is smaller split, and typically wood that I would put out for bundles or the roadside stand. I know a lot of people think of outdoor wood boilers as burning the big chunks of wood, and you know, you can just throw anything in there, which you pretty much can, but this first fire requires a lot of heat, and you want it to get going fast. You don't want to have to try to get a fire going with a big chunk of wood. The smaller split stuff just gets going faster, burns better. I make sure that it's ready to burn, well seasoned. So now what happens is this will keep heating up until it reaches, the water temperature reaches 170. At that point, that blower will shut off, and then we won't be using much heat now, but maybe overnight in the morning, the furnace will kick on, or we'll shower, we'll be using hot water. That will pull heat off of the water that continuously gets cycled between the house and the boiler. And when that water temperature drops to 160, the blower kicks back on, reignites the fire, and gets it burning, heats up the water till it's 170, and then the blower shuts off. And that process of when the blower shuts off at 170 and as the water cools down to 160, sometimes that can take a couple hours. I mean, now it might take, you know, when it's warmer like this during the day, it might take 4, 6, 8 hours. And during that time, there's not really a fire burning inside there. There's just coals that are kind of smoldering. And that's where you get that creosote that you saw earlier build up. It builds up just because, like I said, it's just a smoldering fire in there. It's not burning hot and not burning clean. It's not like a wood stove in your house or a fireplace. The air is pretty much cut off from the fire. So it sits, it smolders, you get that low temperature smoke that then builds up. The buildup you saw earlier, that's what you get. So now we are pretty much set. We don't have to worry about the rising cost of fuel oil, propane, natural gas, any of that. We just have all this wood that we've made for the last couple of years ready to burn. I did mention how it heats the hot water. That cuts our electric bill pretty much in half. So we're set. We're set for winter. The boiler's going here. It's kind of like, it's almost like Christmas. When I fire up the boiler, it's just kind of like one of those days, like I said, it becomes an annual tradition, you know, every year. This year, we are starting it a little bit earlier than normal. Normally, I'd wait till about the first week of October, which is next week, so a week early, no big deal. Do another check-in of the fire. Oh yeah. That is looking and burning good. And we are up to 113. All right, so I think I'll just continue to let this temperature climb to its goal of 170. And I think that'll do it. I will probably do let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. And I will more than likely be doing a follow-up video kind of explaining the workings of the whole process in this whole system. It's very simple. And it's great because, like I said, now, you know, we're not relying on we're not worried about any rising costs of fuel, oil, propane, natural gas, whatever. We're burning up this wood. We set our temperature in the house at 74 and it stays there all winter long, day and night. So no worries about, you know, monitoring the meter, adjusting the temperature down at night, up during the day, none of that. Again, let me know if you have any questions and I will try to answer them either in another follow-up video or reply to the comments. But thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Stay safe, have fun, and be cool.